Hey, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, man, welcome back. This is going to be one of those video essays that I put together, man, that I present. I love hip hop culture. You know that I love hip hop. I believe that hip hop is the greatest culture in the world, even though it can be toxic. And at this time right here, even though hip hop can somehow be alive and well, but as you can see from the wording, Stop and Frisk killed hip hop. And it took a while for me to really come to that realization that hip hop is dead. Uh, Nas had an album that came out back in '06, '07. And back then, at the title of that album, I was in real disbelief. I didn't want to believe it. As a matter of fact, I didn't really acknowledge it. I was like, man, shit, hip hop is alive and well in the South. And if we want to be honest with it, hip hop is thriving in the South somewhat. But let's go ahead and get to some of this research that I did put together. And hopefully, y'all can follow along as I break this down. All right. So here is a video of this content creator, and his name is Funk Bros, and he created a video that says NYC got worst. And he's giving off 10 reasons how New York had changed since he left, or since he's been going back and forth, because he travels around. As you can see, he's Asian, and he's been back and forth from Asia. I think he ever spent some time in on the West Coast, and he always finds himself back in New York. And he hit on some points to where I was like, I've heard that before. And not from a usual suspect too, because it is one thing if I was to hear someone from Nas's age and from his demographic, let's just use his demographic, say that hip hop is dead, then I'm like, ah. But for this guy to say it, hmm. So let's hear what Fung Bros have to say about NYC, and I'm gonna let this play out because he actually leads into a couple points about black culture in NYC.
Point number 5. I actually think this is kind of a crazy thought. I actually think that hip hop is dying and New York is sort of losing its soundtrack. And there's really nobody to blame for it except maybe just like, you know what I mean? Like when I hear people listening to hip hop in New York, they still listen to a lot, but it's a lot of old school stuff. It's a lot of stuff from the 90s. Like nobody's really feeling the new stuff. And I think
Now, on some of my last visits to New York, I noticed that some of the music that I heard um, when I was living in my staying in the Airbnb. Whenever I go to New York, I like to be amongst the people. I was staying in the Airbnb in Harlem, and they were listening to like Jim Jones and Dipset. They were listening to the glory days of Dipset, which I thought was strange because I was expecting to hear more current and some new and fresh hip hop, being that I'm in New York. My expectations were to hear maybe some underground artists who is bubbling up, who's making a wave and making some noise on the streets, But it was Dipset in Harlem. Let's go.
Everybody's going towards like Afrobeat and EDM, which can still kind of get the party jumping and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of bars don't even play hip hop anymore because not only it's a liability and just it's just I don't know what.
And that's one thing too, right? Because hip hop has the reputation of being rowdy. Okay. So the crowd would have to definitely help usher in the soundtrack or help usher in what the streets is saying. I could imagine that the drill rappers, especially like a Pop Smoke, would probably bring in some YN culture. That's some YN culture that energetic. Because hip hop is a young man's sport. It really is. At least it should be.
What it is, like I love hip hop. I grew up on hip hop. I probably know like I don't know. I just know so much about it. I know so much music, and the music has had such a deep impact on me. But hip hop is just not in a good place. And concurrently with hip hop, street ball is sort of dead. Like you do not really.
Now, also, like I said, when I visit New York, I like to be amongst the people, um, visiting different neighborhoods, uh, go to different delis and different um, food shops because I like to get a chopped cheese. Whenever I'm in New York, I always like to get a chopped cheese, slice of pizza. I like to go get oxtails from the soul food spot, right? And the basketball court was empty. It wasn't a hot day either. It wasn't, some crazy hot day. It was a very mild day because let me see. Me and my friend, we were riding through New York on the city bikes, and we stopped to get a chopped cheese, and it was like, okay, there's a park right there, and it was a basketball court, and the basketball court was empty, and we stayed there and we ate for a while, and no one pulled up. It was just some people just passing through to get from one point to the next. Nobody stopped to play ball.
You see probably a fraction of the New York City street ball being played that you used to see. You know what I mean? And it's just a function of everybody. Maybe I think the real hardcore basketball players are playing indoors, but also that just people are playing games now and stuff like that too. But it's just like the courts are just super unempty. You don't hear hip hop as much, and you certainly don't hear new hip hop as much anymore. But that's a function of hip hop just sort of falling off globally, in my opinion. And like I said, I don't know. I don't. You got to blame the new rappers, or like, to be honest, a lot of the.
It ain't necessarily just the new rappers, right? New York. New York is a melting pot of people, and I'm just going to really hone in on black people because some of those earlier rappers from the 80s and the 90s, a lot of those were immigrants. A lot of those guys, they come from Jamaica. That's why you had so many different flavors when it came to rapping. That's how you could get a Busta Rhymes to sound the way that he sound. That's how you can get Notorious B.I.G. that can sound the way that he sound, right? Because they have roots that come from someplace else. It's not necessarily all American. They add in all of that. All of those different cultures really make hip hop. So you have a lack of the immigrants aren't coming in like they used to, or at least they're not staying like they used to. They're not hanging out like they used to. And there's a reason why. Stop and frisk. An aggressive, an aggressive policy on stop and frisk cut down on how people interact in these neighborhoods.
Really great young ones passed away, tragically. So I don't know. Hip hop's just not in a good place right now.
All right, but we appreciate you, Funk. Funk Bros. So I had pulled up this article about stop and frisk, and I got to this point because I'm a hip hop fan, and hip hop, we can say peaked in 96. I think 96 is the greatest hip hop year. You have 88. 96 was one of those years, and then after that you have 1998. So you have 2 years in the 90s that really solidified the peak era of New York rap for sure. And then stop and frisk happened. It said stop and frisk during the Bloomberg administration, '02 to 2013. And this is by NYCLU. And this article, it just chronicalizes as the stop and frisk controversy dates back to 1999, when 4 white members of the NYPD street crime unit fired 41 shots and killed an unarmed black, I'm going to say Amadou Dallo, at the entry of his home. After allegations of racial profiling by the unit emerged, the NYC Council in 2001 enacted legislation requiring the NYPD to report to the council detailed information about stops of pedestrians. In 2012, the NYCLU sued the NYPD over stop and frisk, abuse at private residential buildings, and in 2013, the federal court found widespread constitutional violations. So from that run from 1999 till 2013, you have a violation of constitutional rights, man. Once upon a time, man, hip hoppers, young black folks, young black immigrants used to hang out on the stoops, and they used to freestyle and form ciphers and listen to their music, and they have their radios outside, and they have these instrumentals, and probably even have block parties. All of the perfect ingredients that you need for artists to grow, cultivate. No longer were these artists and young talented people could gather around and sharpen their skills with their friends outside, because police coming over, running down on them. Hey, get you, turn around, break up the dice game, turn around. Hey, what you doing? So you have a decade plus of stop and frisk that really impacted how New York street culture, hip hop culture interact, because not only did it impact the rappers, but the street ball players as well. Like, man, The ball players don't even hang out like they used to. Now I have now there is a basketball court, the real big basketball court over in Brooklyn that I had saw a lot of basketball going on over there. But just being at the park outside, that's done. All right. And Hip Hop is Dead is Nas's album. This album came out in 2006. Now, when Nas, just some information on it, Nas announced the album title after a performance in 2006 in late September with an interview on Tim Westwood's radio show. Nas said hip hop is dead because we as artists no longer have the power. He said, he went on to say, could you imagine what 50 Cent could be doing? He said, Nas, Jay, Eminem, if we were the Jimmy Levines, could you imagine the power we'd have? I think that's where we're headed. He described the album as a mixture of street records, political records, and collaboration. And this is one of my favorite Nas's album because on Hip Hop is Dead, he has the song called Black Republican with Jay-Z, and I love that record, even though a lot of people don't like it, but that's the first time that Jay-Z and Nas actually recorded together, after that beef, or probably ever in my lifetime. I don't remember or recall them on any kind of mixtapes. If y'all do, y'all let me know. But they have the song called Black Republican, and it's great. It was great for hip hop. Um, and that was Nas's explanation because in 2006, okay, and he mentioned a name, 50 Cent, that came in the early 2000s, and I wanted to say he got a lot of flack for being the downfall for New York rap. We're going to go back to the scene and I'm going to pull that up right quick. And he had this interview on Hot 97. I think it was with Ebro. And I'm just going to pull it up and see if it comes up.
But you said like the New York City hip hop died. I didn't shoot it. You did it.
No, you
Because
pulled it
nobody
apart.
else can.
You pulled it apart. You had everybody beefing with you. Anybody did a record with Joe or Ja
did
was
it.
beefing with you. At a time when we could have had unity and everybody came, the marquee
No, we could
artist,
not.
not the new artist, the marquee artist,
Hey, look, you know
did
what?
not want to work
Check this
together.
out. Listen, look. We could not have had unity at that point. You don't really want to say what it is because of how they perceive Jay. He wants to. Can someone please bring us past the great Papa? Where's the caviar? Like, you want to tell us exactly, man, what you see in that face, man. You know what it is.
No, I thought
Don't
it
blame me for New York City hip hop.
it is your fault.
He was the program director.
No,
he did not play that music.
No, I
This
supported
is who
you.
they should be looking
I supported
for.
you.
That's who's back here.
It's your fault. And then you threatened to have me beat up. And I was like, so what? Nigga, it's what
Listen,
it is.
how you gonna mess it up and then say I did? Hip hop died. I didn't. But you said like, the New York City hip hop died. I didn't shoot it.
No,
You did it.
No, you
Because
pulled it
nobody
apart.
else can.
You pulled it apart. You had everybody beefing with you. Anybody did a record with Joe or Ja was beefing with you. At a time when we could have had unity and everybody.
And you know what? That beef did not, it didn't help anything at all. If we're gonna go ahead and keep it, a thou wow, that beef with Ja Rule and 50 Cent, it didn't help at all because it really did put a wedge in the sound of New York. And then you had the Dipset era, and Dipset had a run, and Cam and Jim Jones and Jewels and those runs of Dipset artists, J.R. Reiner and Hell Rell. I'm actually a Hell Rell fan. I think the dude could rap. And then right on the tail end of Dipset, that's when the South came in. Lil Wayne with his crazy mixtape run. And then after that it was over. What we knew about New York rap, it really did change. Because something else happened with the sound of New York. New York rappers started rapping like down south artists. They started using southern beats, southern drum patterns. You know, it's been Notorious B.I.G, he is one of the first artists to start using instrumentals that's outside of the New York region. He was one of the first to actually record with the down south and out west artists and really start to change his style up to, that mirrors and can complement someone from the Midwest like a Bone Thugs and Harmony. So couple that, New York changing its sound, losing its identity, not being able to hang out on the streets and really cultivate and make New York hip hop what New York hip hop always stood to be. And you had a recipe for death. Those so we had Lil Wayne coming in making those mixtapes with Busta Rhymes and Joel Santana, and Lil Wayne being the young hotness at the time. He was all over New York radio. And then you couple in strip club culture. Because there are certain records that just sound better in the strip club. They're just certain records and certain beats that just goes better with a nice wobbly floppily behind it. It just does. It's hard to make it clap to black Republicans. I'm telling you, man, it's hard. It take a every stripper can't dance to who shot you. You know, it's just hard. But if we're talking about who shot you in New York, you know, down south at the time, we're listening to something like 3 6 Mafia. You know, something with more bounce to it. Maybe some Trick Daddy. So 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 the culture went from hanging out on the streets, being patted down and harassed, to we going on the inside. And we're gonna watch some booty shake. And they shaking to 3 6 Mafia in the club. So let's try to make some records like Project Pat. If we're Dipset, let's rap over I'm About It by Master P. So you fast forward. Here we are in 2025. And there isn't one young up and coming hip hop artist out of New York. The guy who's hot and who's bubbling right now is NBA YoungBoy, somebody from the South. And even who I would argue that another young artist in the South would be Kodak Black. I'm talking about cats who still in their 20s, right? NBA YoungBoy, he still got a lot of runway to go. Kodak maybe in his maybe 28, 29, maybe. Let's just see. Kodak Black. Born 1997. 28 years old. Yeah, so Kodak Black, who's from Florida, NBA YoungBoy, who's from Baton Rouge. These are the superstars. These are the young rappers. And they don't sound anything like a New York artist. Even rappers who are young, but they're old in rapper years, like your JIDs. He's a great rapper, but he's from Atlanta and he is in his 30s. And the way that New York culture is set up now, like that 2 decades of stop and frisk, I'm not sure that another artist could come out of New York. Not a young guy. It just made the culture different. You're not gritty enough. You're not street enough. I guess the last young um, East Coast artist would be a Meek Mill, Wale, but they're not from New York. And like I said, I just don't see it ever happening again for New York. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this piece, man. New York is dead, hip hop is dead, and Stop and Frisk killed it. Yeah, let me know what y'all think about this right here, man. Until next time, we out. Peace.